Good evening, everybody. Hi, good evening, everybody. Come on, let's make it a little louder. Let's have a show of hands. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you very much. Now, let me assure you, my kerchief is not coordinated. It was just a mere surprise for me as well. So while you've got your wonderful Airtel Business logos, I've got mine, a lovely kerchief. It was generally not coordinated. Anyway, look, I have been tracking Airtel for the last 20 odd years now. 20 odd years, it was a very simple business, very network oriented. And today to what it's grown, Xtelify and Nextra and so much more. But in all of these waves of change at Airtel, if there is a few underpinnings I have seen through as an independent analyst, is the laser-sharp focus on customer excellence and building a premium product. Now, a great example of this is the Airtel Thanks app, which started at a very nascent stage as a simple mobile application. I remember back in time when it started, I did some very pretty little advisory around the topic as well. And to what it's grown today as a full self-service stack, wherein today as customers, we need not even call the contact center. It's an absolutely wonderful journey. The second one is the Airtel Black. I remember as an enterprise customer, I'm an Airtel enterprise customer. I've got about 12 odd connections on a personal level as well, and I've got DTH. Back in time, managing so many billings was such a nightmare. Today, it's just one bill. So such an amazing evolution of the business. But if there's one thing more that I think has truly stood out is the Airtel's focus on pushing the boundaries a little bit on innovation. I remember the early days of SaaS when Airtel tried its hand with the early SaaS providers, formed partnerships, went to customers. I experienced that very, very closely. So from that to today, we've got Xtelify, we've got Airtel Cloud. It's such a lovely journey. Now, the only way I could value add was to actually author an independent report, which will be shared with you at the end of this session. It's a truly independent report in the sense that we have, as an analyst firm, gone down on the brass tacks of Airtel Cloud, understood the stack, put through a report that talks about, if at all you need to adopt an Airtel Cloud or a telco cloud, what should be the levers of consideration, what should you think about, let's say, because telco cloud relatively is still a newer entity in the market. You've been approached by hyperscalers, but how do you engage differently with telco cloud is something that probably this report will talk about. But to do more justice to the topic, I must call upon two lovely gents who are the experts in this business and will give us a complete lowdown. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Sharat Sinha, Director and CEO for Airtel Business. A large round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sure. May I please also call upon Mr. Pradipt Kapoor, CEO for Xtelify, and also the Chief Digital and Information Officer for Bharti Airtel. A little louder, please. Come on, let's pump up the gents. The reason I'm saying pump up is because I'm going to be the Arnab Goswami of the night, because the nation of the CIO wants to know, is Airtel Cloud even worthy of a conversation, right? So, let's start with, we've heard Gopal do some great justice around the evolution of Airtel and how Xtelify is empowering the world's telcos. We also heard Nextra as a brand. And then we also have the Airtel Business as a brand. Now, simplify this for me if I'm a CIO in the audience. How do these three entities come together to simplify my experience as a customer? And more importantly, what are the synergies these businesses have internally to be able to actually offer a competing output?
So you're referring to Airtel Business, Nextra, and Xtelify.
That's right.
So Airtel Business is everything B2B.
Okay.
So we service the need of right from global hyperscalers, global carriers, and global enterprises on one side as part of our global business. Then there is domestic business that includes all the government entities, PSUs, enterprises, and emerging businesses. Nextra is our data center business. And then Xtelify is a wholly owned subsidiary of Bharti Airtel, which has the Airtel Cloud. It has all the digital platforms and all digital products in it. Now, Airtel Business leverages on Nextra as well as Xtelify to provide business proposition to our customers.
Okay. Now, help me sort of, go a little further down. So, Probably from a tech side as well, Pradip, how does, let's say, an Xtelify team feed into, let's say, the Airtel Cloud as a product, as a platform? Are there things you learn, let's say, from other instances in the world that help you make this platform much richer? And also, Sharat, for you as well, with so much at work in the background, how does it make my life complicated as a CIO?
So Sanjit, thank you for hosting this for us. To answer your question and just building on what Sharat said, for the enterprise customer, it shouldn't matter which subsidiary of Airtel is providing that service. So we are all working together. We still wear the Airtel badge. It doesn't matter from a subsidiary perspective. That's for Gopal and the investors. But from a customer perspective, that really doesn't make any difference at all. If I were to take your question on how do we learn from other places, etc. So as was mentioned in the earlier presentation, right? We've had our own 5 to 6 year journey on building some of these things, which at the same time, we also do work with other providers, other hyperscalers also, and like any CIO would, we have a hybrid strategy which is there. But for certain workloads, we think, which are sovereign, which need the scale that we need, we've built this. As we have partnered with customers globally, we also at the same time understand their problems in solving some of the challenges that they have, be it on data residency, be it on security, be it on optimizing their workforce, which is the example we gave on Singtel. And these things go hand in hand. Right. As you do the platform work, you also understand the infrastructure, and as you do the infrastructure, you understand the more on the platform side. So we're continuously learning. Even when we engage now with enterprises, the conversations that we have, we bring the knowledge we have, but we also learn in the process itself. So it's a continuous journey. Our product roadmap also evolves based on the inputs that we get from our enterprise customers, be it on the connectivity side or on the platform side or on the cloud side. So it's a virtuous journey as we go through all this.
Wonderful. And Sharat, the reason I asked you that question from a customer's perspective is, very often when we do a lot of advisory with customers, they complain, like even large brands. So there's so many salespeople, so many support people. We don't know who to go to. It's such a lacuna. How are you solving that with Airtel Cloud?
So when it comes to interfacing with Airtel, we have simplified the way we interact with our customers. When it comes to go-to-market, it's the Airtel Business part which interacts with them. We have a corresponding delivery and assurance organization that supports post-sales part of it. And then we have a very strong engineering organization. See, one advantage when you are going for Airtel Cloud is that there's a large, highly efficient, expert engineering team within the country that you have access to as well. But as far as customers are concerned, we have created a very simple interface. They interact with the people at Airtel Business, and we pull in resources as needed.
Okay, wonderful. It's a great answer. Thank you very much. I want to roll back. Gopal mentioned 7-8 years ago the journey for Airtel Cloud started, and that really piqued my interest because it's very similar to how AWS problem statement was. There was complexity, there was scale, there was fragmentation of IT. So, Pradip, walk us through that journey. What was that tipping point? Let's go a little deeper to what Gopal said. What was that tipping point when you said, enough is enough, we just need to go all in, think differently about this? What was the thought process internally?
So, this goes to the heart of the DNA of Airtel overall, right? I mean, even if you look at, let's even forget cloud for the moment, but if you look at our connectivity services, with the connectivity services that we provide at the cost we provide, means there is continuous innovation at a network level, which we have to do. It's not just take a simple, out-of-the-box solution and just run services on it. So the DNA is, how do you provide, and as you saw in our tagline, optimize, high performance at optimized TCO. That's at the heart of what we do. As we were evolving and, more, our consumers were engaging with us more digitally, we ran into the 4 challenges that Gopal talked about, but we also ran into the challenge of how do we keep running this in an optimized manner, high availability. So, just to give you a simple example, we have so many prepaid customers who recharge with us regularly. If there's a 5-minute outage, and we measure I am measured at least on my success, or not on how many severities, but how many minutes of outage we had. Every minute has a value associated in this business. So when we talk about telco-grade availability, it truly is that it has to be 99.99% available, which then brought us the challenges of all the digital challenges, but also the infrastructure challenges. We had a choice to make. Either we went to a hyperscaler and put all our cloud, but we had challenges of data residency, cost, how do we re-architect everything, and a whole bunch of different challenges associated with it. And at that point, about 4 or 5 years ago, we made the decision to say, we will craft our own cloud for our need initially. And we did that, and the results have been phenomenal. Our incident rates have crashed over the last 2-3 years. I mean, we can share some of those statistics. The automation we've driven in the platform itself has also defined recovery times, which are much better. And what happened was then when we were talking to our customers, they started questioning us as to, how have you done this? And that's where the genesis of building this as a proposition for our enterprise customers came in, because when we were showing off what we had built, it was incredible, the response we got, and that's where it has led to this cloud launch. It's based on our own success. We've eaten the dog food, so to say. We do this.
You just took away my words.
So this is truly, and a lot of the people who have built this, you'll see them in the product booths outside. So they are not sales specialists only. They are the engineers who actually have solved the problems of stitching all of these technologies together to build the Airtel Cloud.
I think that's such a transition for an Airtel, wherein they're not the salespeople doing the demos,
yes.
Actually the product guys, right? And there's a nicer word these days for eating your own dog food. It's said having your own champagne.
Oh,
it sounds much more smoother, right? Any which ways, I'd love to sort of, you mentioned cost, but before we go to cost specifically, and it's a topic I'd love to talk to you also about, let's talk architecture choices. When you started this journey, what were some of these architecture choices that you were making, and how have customer feedback, either directly or via Sharat's team, how has those choices changed over the course of time? Because technology's come a long way in the last 8 years.
So it's an excellent question, Sanchit. So, irrespective of the fact that we have our own cloud, any CIO, and my peers in the room here, are always making choices on where to put what workloads, right? And we've gone through this journey too. We'll share our experiences in the format of a cloud cookbook that we've offered to people, where we've tried to articulate for us, at least, what was the choices that we would make, be it cost, be it data, be it connectivity, latency, security. All these choices drive different choices. One thing, at least for me, which was clear was it's not one size fit all. So even today we have a hybrid approach. I'm not going to take a workload of Oracle Financials and try and move it to my cloud. It was best done on an Oracle Financials SaaS model. Is where we do that. But there are certain workloads where I feel we're better suited for. So first, our experience, we are sharing this through Cloud Cookbook. The second element for me was also one of the choices when I come back to the cost piece was being able to analyze spend where we do that. So today, as part of our launch, we have a cloud analyzer which helps you look at your spends in different hybrid clouds and be able to answer, to give you a recommendation of where the workload would be better from a cost perspective. And the final piece in terms of roadmap, of course, what we've launched today is mature with the roadmap as of today, where we already have a roadmap for the next 9 months, which has been actually built based on the conversations we had in the roundtables that we've done with customers.
And this is where I want Sharat to come in.
Yeah.
So Sharat, you told me earlier on that you took this to the road. You did a test trial with let's say about 60 odd customers. Give us a sense of what was the response from those customers. What was the feedback? What was the top of mind recall? And how did that sort of some of those feedback flow back to Pradip's team?
So if you ask me, the cloud journey has continued for many years, and in fact our cloud was ready even a year ago. What we did about 6 to 9 months ago was, between Gopal, Pradipt and I, we went and met CIOs. We did multiple roundtables, met over 60 CIOs to start with, to just assess what they are looking for. We took that feedback and we have enriched our cloud on the basis of that. And some feedback was very clear. As Pradipt was explaining, CIOs have to on a constant basis make choices on where they put what workload and what kind of infrastructure is optimal for that workload. For example, you might decide that certain applications are very core to your business, mission critical. You want to keep it on-prem. And on the other side of the spectrum, there might be applications which are perfectly suited for pre-packaged software, SaaS. Between the two, you might decide there are certain workloads because of their inherent requirement for compute or storage or associated networking, security, etc. They are ideally suited for cloud. And once you've taken that decision, then you decide what cloud is ideal for it. There were some fundamental challenges people were facing. To be candid with you, biggest challenge was just having visibility and control over costs. So an optimized total cost of ownership, where you have full visibility and control over your spend, was very, very critical. For certain verticals, which are regulated, sovereignty is also important. So we took all that feedback and further fine-tuned our offerings, made sure that the cloud cookbook is made available to everyone. This is a cookbook that is something Airtel has tried internally. Pradeep has developed that over a period of time. We know exactly when you have an application, how do you make a choice of putting it on a specific, let's say, public cloud versus our own infrastructure versus buying a prepackaged software. And once you take those decisions, so some of those things also, we are making it available. And then we also looked at the operations part of it. People felt that, we have AI chatbots, for example, that automates the workflow, etc. So some of those things were critical. Then people also highlighted that migration part is important. And therefore, we developed appropriate migration tool to make sure that it's smooth. So this is in the first phase of launch that we are doing, but this journey will continue. We also have a very well-developed roadmap, at least 9 months visibility we have. But as we get more and more feedback, we'll continue to evolve the roadmap to meet the needs of our customers.
Wonderful. I'll come back to the roadmap. Very interesting. Thank you. And you've mentioned cookbook twice. And, trust you me, in 20 years, I've seen 1 million cookbooks come and go. Don't mind my cynicism. I'm the CIO's voice. So I'm telling you what's going on in their head. So don't throw stones at me, okay? But the thing is, the success of any such initiative like a cookbook ultimately depends on the kind of hand-holding you do with the customer. Because the customer, I have a very lovely CIO customer. He says a very lovely line. He says, "Dekho, meri team lagan hai. अब मुझे बाहर से सचिन चाहिए. मैं जीत तो रहा हूँ, लेकिन my team is a lagan." So that's a classic example of today. A classic CIO challenge is that they have board asks just like you do. They have a rapidly growing SaaS architecture, which is often not supported and not a matter of choice anymore. How does that a toolkit or a cookbook come to use for a customer, and how is that an aided journey for a customer?
Yeah, I can take this. So, we don't just provide the cookbook. In fact, in first phase, even beyond cookbook, we will be hand-holding our customers to make sure that the migration is smooth.
Okay.
And cookbook is very self-explanatory, but at the same time, our product sales specialists and solution architects work with the customers to help them use that cookbook for their use.
Okay. And does your team also step into the cookbook?
Yeah, so Sanjit, I think the one piece that is different, which you will see with this proposition also, is that normally when you engage with a provider, a hyperscaler, you're dealing with the sales team and the product team are far away. Why you have engineered something like that is not answerable. Here, you have access directly to the people who are building this product. So Sharat and team regularly parachute us, the people who build this, into those conversations to say, why did you do this the way you have done on this cloud? And what if I'm getting stuck on this? Can I speak to someone? So two things. One is the PSS is not only the PSS of just taking a cookie cutter approach and doing it. There is real architectural and consulting resources. We have about 300, Gopal mentioned, in Pune who can do that. Overall, my engineering workforce is anyway about 3,000 people. So actually, those we need to extract out will be extracted for those conversations. But the second is we are very eager to learn what the challenges our customers are facing so that we can actually help them solve the problem. So for us, it's not only about just spinning up workloads and moving on. We are here to solve, and we are here to solve for long term with our partners, and our engineering teams work with the GTM teams to actually help solve it. So it's not you take a cookbook and walk away. We understand the technology challenges. We'll work through the architecture. We'll work through the solution design to actually have you implement that.
So don't mind my cynicism. I'm their voice.
Absolutely.
I'm just being the devil's advocate here. There's a certain sentence I read in one of the Airtel Cloud's marketing material that stayed with me, which is your IT cost as part of your revenue is down by 75%. Now, that's an extremely bold claim to make, and by any stretch of imagination, that's far ahead than your peers. But tell me one thing, what have you done differently to ensure that this dip doesn't come at the cost of efficiency or lack of control, or let's say auditability and traceability, those certain issues, which I'm sure most CIOs here would be worried about, right?
So, as I said earlier, right, higher performance at optimized cost is in our DNA. So it's true as a fact that our revenue and percentage of cost as a comparison in the revenue is fairly low, and we've cut it down by 75%. And different industries have different metrics. So I can't say my metric is better than anybody else's metric, because it is industry specific, company specific, which is there. But if you look at in our industry from a telco comparison, right? Typically, and we've seen this with telcos that we've dealt globally, typically the cost of IT as a percentage of revenue tends to be between 6 to 14%. We operate at sub 2%, right? And you yourself were talking about the experience change that you've seen on Thanks app, which is another digital property that we built. So I'm pretty sure, as I said, from a overall, while we have driven the cost, the driving down the cost was not the piece, which is what Gopal also mentioned. We call it war on waste. We always want to be optimal cost with a higher performance and quality services being the first thing. So our intention wasn't to drive cost. Our intention was to do better service. The cost was a good consequence of us doing it in a better manner, organizing ourselves in platforms, organizing the infrastructure. Both were consequences of good architecture and technology decisions. The cost came as a benefit, which we are happy to share with other people.
Perfect. Thank you. Great answer. Thank you. Sharat, over to you. You said something very interesting, 60 plus CIO conversations. But the variety and the length and breadth in India is absolutely fascinating. There is a mid-market customer with probably no CIO, but still a great need for cloud. Then there is the startup, which is full DevOps, hands-on, roll on the sleeves. I don't want any trouble. Just give me the credits and move on. And then there are these large boys. Tell me what's resonating with who, in your customer base.
So you're absolutely right. And even within that, depending on the vertical that you talk to, a BFSI customer versus manufacturing customer may have very, very different requirements. So as we went across, and even within the vertical as well, each enterprise is very unique. So if you look at large enterprises, typically the cookbook approach actually really helps, because it helps them identify what exactly should be put on the cloud and for what Airtel's public cloud would be ideal for them. We have identified the pain points, and we have come out with a proposition that addresses all of them. When it comes to mid-market, it's mostly, I mean, they are also looking for, because it's not very easy to find cloud resources who are highly specialist. So they're not just going to go for Airtel Cloud because it has better total cost of ownership. It also allows them to not really worry about hiring those resources, because we are managing it for them, and they can focus on their core business. And when it comes to SMB, and I wouldn't call them SMB, we call them emerging customers. Nobody wants to stay small forever. But we give them pre-packaged bundled solution, let's say for backup, disaster recovery, archival, etc. So depending on size of the business, the needs could be different. Depending on the vertical, needs could be different. In fact, I felt that pretty much every customer is unique. So we have allowed them to have bespoke solutions for themselves. Okay. Cookbook helps them arrive at that conclusion. And we continue to learn from that. So we did not stop at 60. I'm pretty much meeting or interacting with the customer on a daily basis.
Give us some examples. Give us some concrete examples of some customers, some use cases that your team is currently working on and trying to sort of aid the customer's journey.
Look, there's some very interesting cases we found. In fact, in one of the roundtables, I very distinctly remember as we were trying to show our migration tool, which also had some built-in compute and storage capability, which we thought was good for migration. One of the manufacturing customers said that it's ideally suited for the shop floor environment. And there are times where they can't get that capacity there. So that input came from there. When I was talking to one of the customers, which is digital native, they actually wanted to migrate from an existing public cloud environment to ours. And when we talked about the proposition we provide them, they said they wish they knew about something like that earlier, which very much integrated with their idea of their proposition, which was built in India, for India kind of proposition. So this really went well with that. So we are learning all the time, and we'll continue to learn as we talk to more customers.
I think just adding on to Sharat's point, look, the combination that we have as a strength is the fact that we have network. So ultimately, what is network, right? It's how you transfer the data across. The egress cost that you typically get with any other hyperscaler, if you do the network design with us, you pretty much don't have to do that, right? We also have a strong CDN that we offer. So how do you have data securely on your network is one aspect of it. Then we have the cloud compute aspect of it. And you add on that the bits that we built in terms of, for example, the spam and AI aspect of it. Now, if you're, for example, a financial services customer, how do you help run your workload in a secure manner and also at the same time get the benefit of our spam protection into your fraud? These are the use cases that we are dealing with at the moment. So it's a combination of the capabilities that we have. I have a similar example where we have an IoT customer who has to deal with large volumes of data on IoT, has to run on the cloud, and of course then there is where can you deploy your IoT devices, etc. So that kind of combined offering is the kind of places we are also seeing a lot of interesting conversations and solutions being developed. So just two examples which are unique to us. It's not that it's not possible with other providers, but here we are bringing the power of all that we have together to offer to our customer.
And tell me, let's say if the motion was to go extremely well, how do you manage support at scale? Because a lot of customers, when they're initial customers, they get great feedback, they get great support. But when the customer base starts to increase, the big question mark is, will the scale be there as well?
Look, I think that is one area where we probably have a good experience. I mean, we manage a national level critical infrastructure at scale. So I won't say support is perfect, but I think we have experience of providing that kind of support, and we are extending that for cloud. Now, cloud obviously requires, slightly more nuanced, it's a different kind of support structure. But supporting things at scale is something which at Airtel, I think we understand.
Excellent. And I'm being shown the time again and again, so we have to sort of quicken up the pace here. Airtel has a wonderful foothold on the CIO's door, but the CIO's problem is that he or she has to, in the end, make a business case with the CFO. And you don't necessarily have an ear with the CFO yet, and I'm sure you'll get there at some stage. But how are you sort of helping CIO become successful in front of the CFO? Not just to look good, but actually put numbers on the table and say it's really going to work.
I think few propositions are ideally suited that we are giving CIOs the tools so that they can get approvals from CFOs easily, right? It optimizes total cost of ownership is one thing, but more importantly, we are giving them visibility and control. Especially the egress related cost creates a lot of unpredictability sometimes in cloud, which becomes a concern for CFOs. What we are providing actually creates a very good justification for migrating to cloud on a larger scale.
Okay, wonderful. And in the interest of time, we'll quickly move on to the ecosystem part, because I remember when another competing cloud came in, and actually when they launched in 2020, I wrote a large report, and one of the underpinnings I thought was different about Airtel was the ecosystem centricness, right? Now, in the modern day and age where the ISVs, MSPs, so much is happening in the ecosystem part of it, even large companies like an IBM today talks about ecosystem centricity. How is Airtel sort of onboarding that? Not just to sort of solve internal problems, but to solve CIO architectural compliance issues.
So look, one part for the Airtel Cloud to actually happen, there was an ecosystem of multiple technologies that we have integrated and created this Airtel Cloud. So that ecosystem is very much there. But it's an evolving process, and we will be integrating more and more partners in the ecosystem to create full end-to-end proposition for our customers. So ecosystem is very much at the heart of how we do business. It's been part of Airtel Cloud creation, and we'll be adding more and more.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, just adding on to Sharat's point, right? There's an ecosystem for the infrastructure layer, there's an ecosystem for the PaaS layer, and then there is SaaS services on top. We've started bottom up to make sure the first two layers of IaaS and PaaS are provided, and coverage is a certain level of PaaS services. So you were asking earlier an example, we support multiple databases as a service, but there are so many databases. You want to add to that PaaS list. That's what is in our roadmap, but our roadmap, we are very much customer backed. So I don't want to create a 400 PaaS list which nobody uses. If our customer asks for it, we have a way and a method to prioritize and driving some of those PaaSes. So it will be an ecosystem play. Same way, if there is a SaaS provider who also buys into this sovereign need, and we have a few of them, and they want to deploy onto our sovereign cloud, they will be welcome. We are developing some of those partnerships, so yeah.
But I went through the stack, and I must say that I thought the weakest link in the system, and don't mind my honesty, the weakest link in the system was the developer experience, the SDK availability, the CI/CD pipeline. I think there's an awful lot of work that's required there. So when do you think we're going to be true DevSecOps ready?
Yeah. So I think, again, we had to prioritize different things to deliver in the first phase. The first delivery that you've seen today is backed, again, by what the customers that we were engaging for. That is not to say that developer tools are not there. You have two approaches in what we can solve for. One is we can provide it as a PaaS service, or as a CIO, you can deploy your own tools. We will do, like any agile organization, do a release every quarter on new tool sets. So the weakness that you are identifying is already in the build phase.
Wonderful.
Will be done by the time
Wonderful.
we are in.
Wonderful. And I have another question for you, Sharat. Because the Airtel Cloud is relatively brand new. Of course, there's going to be a question, right? You have an existing relationship with Google, AWS, and the others. How does this dual mode strategy work? We spoke about hybrid, but let's double click this a little bit, please, for the customers.
Look, we will coexist. As we highlighted earlier as well, we are guiding customers towards making right choice in the cloud. I expect that in a large enterprise, there will be hybrid cloud. There are things for which we are ideally suited. We will help our customers migrate to us. There are certain applications for which certain hyperscalers or other clouds might be suitable. We will advise them to stay there and grow there. There might be certain applications which are ideally suited for on-prem, maybe sometimes hosted in our Nextra data centers. We'll drive them towards that. We want them to make a good decision for their business, and we want to be a facilitator in that.
Wonderful. It's architecture first before anything else, right? So we're going to end this session. I'm no Karan Johar and I have no gift hampers for you, but we'll have a rapid fire. So if I was a CIO sitting in the audience, give me in one line why I should even consider an Airtel Cloud.
As a CIO, you should consider Airtel Cloud because it is well tested at scale. It optimizes your total cost of ownership. And it is something which allows you to grow as you grow your infrastructure.
Wonderful. That's one sentence. Thank you.
I think for me, I would say, as a CIO, I would say, we are here. We are a partner to solve your cloud problems. And we will help you get the agility and reliability that you need. I think that's the message I would
Great answers, gents. Can we have a large round of applause for these two gents? Thank you very much.